Okay, so we are on prerequisites number 8, solving systems of equations in 2 and 3 variables. So the first few problems are just 2 variables. Here we have x and y. So there's a couple of ways to solve systems of equations. We could either do substitution or elimination. So let's start the first one by using substitution. So with substitution, what that means is we're going to substitute one of our values into the other equation. So we see how this one's y equals this. So every time we see y in our other equation, we're going to substitute it in. So this is what it looks like. So we're going to start with our equation, x plus 2y is equal to 10. So what this looks like is our y that we have in our second equation is equal to 2x minus 5. So every time we see y, we're going to plug in 2x minus 5. So we have x plus 2 times our y, which is 2x minus 5, and it's all equal to 10. So we're going to start by distributing our 2 to our 2x, and then our 2 to our negative 5. So then we have x plus 2 times 2x, which is 4x, and then x 2 times negative 5, which is negative 10, is equal to 10. And then we just want to combine our x's. So then we get x plus 4x is 5x. And then we want to get our 10s to one side. So when we add 10, we get 5x is equal to 20. Then lastly, we divide by 5 to get x alone. And then we get x is equal to 4. Okay, so now that we have our x, we can now take our x value and let's plug it into an equation we have here and solve for y. So y is equal to 2x and our x is 4. So 2 times 4 minus 5. So y equals 2 times 4, which is 8, minus 5. So y is 3. So we have y is 3 and x is 4. And if we want to know we're right, we can always check our work. It's very important to check your work, especially if you have extra time. Say you're taking the AP exam and you have a lot of extra time, you can always go back, check your work, make sure you're correct. Okay, so question number 2. So we did the first one using substitution. We're going to solve this one using elimination. And so what that means is that we're just going to try to eliminate one of our variables. So first what we do is we take a look at our 2 equations, and we don't really have any variables that we can eliminate yet, because we have a 5x and a 10x, and then a 7y and a 3y. So what we can do instead is we are going to multiply our equation. Let's multiply our top equation by 2, because when we multiply our top equation by 2, we then will be able to get 10x, so then we can eliminate. And so what I mean by that is when we multiply by 2, we get 2 times 5x, which is 10x. 2 times 7y is 14y. And then that's equal to 12. So now that we do that, we take our other equation that we originally had, which is 10x minus 3y is equal to 46. And we can now subtract one of our equations from the other. And so when we do that, we cancel out our 10x's, and then we're subtracting 3y from 14, so the negative becomes positive, and we get 17y, and then we're subtracting 46 from 12, so then we get that equal to negative 34. Then what we do is we divide both sides by 17, and we're left with y is equal to negative 2. So that's our y value. Now that we did that, we're going to take one of our equations. Let's take our 5x plus 7y equals 6, and we're going to plug in our value that we got, negative 2. for our y value. So 5x plus 7 times negative 2 equals 6. 5x minus 7 times negative 2 is minus 14, equal to 6. We're going to bring our 14 over. So let's add 14 to both sides. We get 5x is equal to 20. We divide by 5 on both sides. And our final answer we get x equals 4. So we get 4 and negative 2. And the way we write our answers, we want to write them in coordinates, because that is the coordinates for this. 4, negative 2. Okay. And then above, we write it 4, 3. Okay. So question number 3 is, now we have 3 variables. And when we have 3 variables, we have 3 equations. We don't always have 3 equations, but in this case, we do. So we have x, we have y, and we have z. So what I like to do to make it a bit easier is we're going to label them. So we're going to label it 1, label it 2, label it 3. So what we're going to do first is we are going to combine 1 and 3, and we are going to eliminate z. And you don't have to write this step. It's just I'm writing it for you guys so you can see. But I'm just going to write it. You don't have to write it. So 1, 3x plus y minus 2z equals negative 12. And so I know to start with 1 and 3 because we have a negative 2z here and a positive 2z here. So we know when we combine them, the z's will cancel out because negative plus a positive will always cancel out. And then our third equation is 5x plus 3y plus 2z equals 4. So when we eliminate, it doesn't necessarily mean that we subtract the equation. It just means we're eliminating a variable. In this case, we're not going to subtract because when we subtract, instead of negative 2z plus 2z, it would be negative 2z minus 2z. And then we would get 4z, which is not eliminating. We want to eliminate, so that's why we just add them together. So when we add, we get 5x plus 3x is 8x, 3y plus y is 4y, and then 2z, negative 2z plus 2z is 0. And then 4 plus negative 12, negative 8. Okay, so this is our equation, and we can't do anything more to simplify this, so let's just leave it here for now. If we really want to simplify it, we could divide by 4, and then we would get 2x plus y equals negative 2. That's the only simplification we can do. We can't solve for our variables. So now, the next one we're going to do is we are going to pair 1 and 2. This will also eliminate z. So it doesn't immediately eliminate z because when we pair 1, which is 3x plus y minus 2z equals 12, and then our second equation is 2x plus 2y minus 3z equals negative 12. Our z's are different. This one's 2 and this one's 3. So what we have to do is multiply the whole equation by something. We're going to multiply this whole first equation by 3 because that's the coefficient in front of this z. And then we're going to multiply this equation by 2 because that's the coefficient in front of this z. So when we multiply it out, what do we get? 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times negative 2z is negative 6z. And that's equal to 3 times 12, or 36. When we multiply it out down here, 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times 2y is 4y. 2 times negative 3z is negative 6z. 2 times negative 12 negative 24. So now we have our two new equations that we just multiplied out, and I'm going to write them down here for us. So 9x plus 3y minus 6z is equal to 36, and then 4x plus 4y minus 6z is equal to negative 24. So now we have the same coefficient in front of our z's, so we are going to subtract. When we subtract, 9x minus 4x is 5x. 3y minus 4y is negative y. 6z minus negative 6z, that becomes positive. So 6z plus 6z is 0. Then we have 36 minus negative 24. This becomes positive. 36 plus 24 becomes 60. Now, what we do is we have our 5x and our y and our 5x and our y, and then our 5x minus y equals 60, and then our 8x plus 4y equals negative 8. Okay, so now take a second. What do you think our next step is going to be? Okay, so before we continue, there is a typo right here. This should be negative 36. This should be negative 12 because our negative 12 is our first equation right here. So negative 12 times 3 becomes negative 36. So then when we have our negative 36 minus a negative 24, that becomes negative 36 plus 24. So then that results in 36 plus 24 becomes 12. Negative. So negative 12. Now that we have our first two equations, we have this equation here, our 8x plus 4y equals negative 8, and then our 5x minus y equals negative 12. And so remember how I divided out our numbers here? We did this. So now instead of writing that, we can just simplify it to 2x plus y equals negative 2. And then when we combine our two equations, we're going to eliminate our y. So our y's cancel out, and we're left with 7x is equal to negative 14. And then when we divide both sides by 7, we get x is equal to negative 2. So now that we have x is 2, let's plug it back into one of our equations that we had with our two variables. So 2x plus y is equal to negative 2. We're going to plug in the value we got for x, which is negative 2. We do not want to pick a 3-variable equation yet because we don't know what z is yet. So when we plug it in, we still will be left with two variables, y and z. That's why we still pick these ones. So then after we do that, 2 times 2 is negative 4, plus y is equal to negative 2. We add 4 to both sides. We're left with y is equal to 2. So now we have our y, and we have our x. So let's pick one of our original equations, 3x plus y minus 2z. 3x plus y minus 2z equals negative 12. So we have our x. We said that our x is negative 2. We have our y, which we said is positive 2. Now we're trying to solve for a z. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 2 minus 2z is equal to negative 12. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4, minus 2z equals negative 12. We're going to add 4 to both sides. Our new equation becomes negative 2z is equal to negative 12 plus 4 is negative 8. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. We got our answer as z is equal to positive 4. So now we have x is -2, y is +2, and z is +4. We can write it as -2, 2, 4. So our answer is this. This could also be called an ordered triple. Not to be confused with what's up here, which is an ordered pair. So that's question number 3. Okay, so let's move on to question number 4. We're going to solve this one. This one's a bit tricky because we have x squared. So how we would solve this, let's combine our equations. And what I mean by that is, let's look at what we're working with. They both are equal to y. So we can set our two equations equal to each other because they're both equal to the same thing. Because x squared minus 4x minus 2 is equal to y, but then 3x plus 5 is also equal to y. So that's why we can just write it as x squared plus 4x minus 2 is equal to 3x plus 5. So now what we want to do is bring all of our terms to one side, including, so everything onto one side so that we can have just 0 on one side. So first we subtracted 3x, and then we're going to subtract 5 to get x squared plus x squared plus x minus 7 equals 0. So now time for what we've been doing a lot of, which is, do you remember what it's called? Remember, negative b plus or minus 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Quadratic formula. This is very important to remember. Okay, let me rewrite that. That got a little messy. But it is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X equals, well, what's our b? So a is 1, b is 1, c is -7. So negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times -7 all over 2 times 1. X is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root. 1 squared is just 1. Negative 4 times 1 times -7 becomes positive 28. All over 2 times 1 is 2. This simplifies to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 29 all over 2. So this either simplifies out to x is equal to 2.195 or x is equal to negative 3.195. You can do that on your calculator. So to find y, we need to plug in our x values into one of the equations. So let's pick y, let's pick the bottom one because we're not going to square anything. Y equals 3x plus 5. Okay, so let's start with our smaller, or the one on our left, our bigger number. X equals 2.195. So y is equal to 3 times 2.195 plus 5. This turns out to be y is equal to 6.585 plus 5, or y is equal to 11.585. This coordinate is x, so 2.195 comma 11.585. So this is our first coordinate. Our second coordinate we're going to do with x is equal to negative 3.195. Remember our equation? Y equals 3x plus 5. So y is equal to 3 times our x, which we said was negative 3.195 plus 5. Y is equal to negative 9.585 plus 5, or y is equal to negative 4.585. So our coordinate looks like 3.195, comma, negative 4.585. That's our other solution. So we have two solutions for this. Two ordered pairs. And that makes sense why we have it, because we have an x squared. And remember, x squareds are always going to be the U shape, either up, concave up, or concave down. That's when we have positive x squared. This is when we have negative x squared. And this, in this case, is positive, so we're going to have this one. So our line 3x plus 5 is going to look something like that. This is why we have 2 points, because it intersects it twice. And these are our 2 points. And then the next prerequisite is 9. So we're going to stop this video here for 8, and then you can click the next link for video 9.